Hey everybody, my name is Molly Rowan Leach, and I'm privileged and honored to be a part and founder of Restorative Justice on the Rise, which is a mostly online platform that spans across the globe, promoting and advocating for restorative justice and practices, and has been for the last decade. We're a podcast and we feature just a great archive of extraordinary voices from peace building and restorative justice. And you can check that out at restorativejusticesontherise.org. The podcast is housed both at Apple Podcast as well as at Spotify, and is also on other streaming platforms online, with 4.5-star reviews and getting publicity from podcast reviewers as we speak. So thank you, all of you who share the word about that open source platform, part of our work. We're also an educational platform offering trainings. Youth under 24 are always free. We always provide COVID impact scholarships for people wanting to come and do this with us. I myself am a practitioner, an educator, and most importantly, a mother and a citizen here in Colorado on the lands of the Ute and Cheyenne peoples. I am privileged to have learned from Kay Pranis, Dominic Barter, James O'D, Sequoia Trueblood, grandmother Mona Polaka, and many other teachers on this path in response to my mother's incarceration of 15 years plus solitary confinement. I saw the critical brokenness of our justice systems. Whose justice is this? And who is it serving? It certainly isn't serving people who are impacted by harm and crime and conflict. And we are reworking the whole definition of justice as we speak. So thank you for tuning in. Today, I'd like to just talk briefly about the importance of pre-conference work, or we could call it pre-work, because it's not just related to conflict and harm related processes such as community group conferencing and victim offender dialogue. It's also related to everything that we do to build relationship, trust, and increase communication that is mutual in our community. So pre-work in the context of restorative justice, which is often referred to when we're talking about alongside courts and within schools, crime and conflict related systems. So restorative practices in general include connection circles. They include celebration circles. They include impact circles, ways to convene together to build understanding, to celebrate each other, appreciate each other, and to learn more about who's in the room, who's in our community, what are their needs, how are things going, where can we do better? So restorative justice is not just about conflict and harm, it's very much about a much wider scope of what we can add into our regular lives together to build and rebuild community and get to know each other more. Relationships are at the foundation of all restorative practices. So back to this thing we call pre-work. The reason why I wanted to do this video is, first of all, don't skip it. Please, please, please don't skip the pre-work, especially when it comes to RJ processes that are alongside courts, in schools, and involved harmed parties and authors of harm, meaning offenders, victims. So I'm hearing a lot of programs calling themselves restorative when they're not doing this critical process and step that is preeminent, that is previous, shall I say, to any form of official dialogue circle or victim offender conference. You must take the time, if you want this to be restorative, to connect with your people, the stakeholders, separately. to connect with each individual, to listen to needs, unmet needs, concerns, frustrations, feelings, make observations, reflect back, find the meaning with them, so that then once and if it's time that they decide they want to move forward to an official conference, there's an understanding of the context of the situation, and there's a better understanding, more importantly, a better understanding of what individual needs are. In the restorative justice field, we're also looking very carefully at how we can best serve victim receivers. And victims come, with rightful anger, with trauma from whatever happened. They come forward choosing to learn more about this process, but they are not required to do it, okay? So this is a voluntary process for everybody involved. Nobody should be coerced, either in words or silently in our actions, to do anything as far as restorative justice is concerned, period. However, we're finding that people naturally are inclined to try it at least and to find out more. So it's our job as facilitators to be very mindful, present, and responsible to the values put into practice. And that includes, obviously tending to the fact that it could be very, very harmful, and it is, when we skip any part of this work, and especially at the fuller conference level. You never put people together until you've worked through with them individually what their needs and concerns are. So please, please, please take time to get further training or mentorship, to find out how pre-conferences and pre-work would best serve your immediate community. Here in Colorado, where I am based, our coalition asks in its policies that we assess accountability at the pre-conference stage level. So a pre-conference with an author, otherwise known as a offender, one of the things that we're looking for is willingness to repair the harm and accountability for the harm. That is another kicker that we need to be looking carefully at together as facilitators. Do we all agree on what that means? If we don't, we need to have ongoing discussion with our professional teams so that we can come to a better understanding of what accountability means and how we assess that. We also need to bring trauma-informed awareness and preparedness in our policies so that we can laterally refer youth and adults alike if they have addiction, mental health, or other needs, counsel needs around the many aspects that informed how people show up in the pre-work. A lot of them are traumatized. Many are traumatized by race issues, by discrimination, by not having shelter or food, or not having access to the things that others do, not to mention the addiction and mental health symptoms and needs that are showing up increasingly in these volatile and difficult times that we are in. So I believe that those who are dedicated to this work will make sure that they understand and are enacting the important steps of the work. And if there's any questions as to what that may mean or be, reach out to a seasoned educator, facilitator, or program that you know has been doing the kind of work you aspire to do before you go any further. We don't want to increase harm. We want to decrease it and even transform it in best case scenarios with a well-held, conscientiously held space that adheres to the very known and proven steps of this work, which, again, really come back to building a deep understanding of our individuals before we do any kind of work together with them. And it's all based on it being voluntary and confidential. So those are just some important, urgent notes from what I've observed in the last decade, and especially in the last year or two in this field as restorative justice grows quickly in schools and communities. Thanks, everybody. Hope this was helpful. Give it a thumbs up, spread the word about restorative justice on the rise. Let us know how we can better serve you, and we'll see you in the future. Our email is rjonrise@gmail.com. Restorative Justice on the Rise was founded in 2011, and we've been doing this for a decade. Looking forward to the next decade with you all. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.